Taylor Kelly. I'm a glass blower. So I'm gonna heat up about 1.5 inch section. I'll condense this by moving my hands together.
So you're kind of pushing?
Yeah, pushing it together, making it thicken up, and then I can start stretching that down. So I'm pulling a handle out of this cobalt blue glass so that we can use that to shape it. I'm gonna pop a hole right through the end of this. So once this cooled down, I'll cut off a section, we'll make that into a pipe. All right, so we're gonna go ahead right into it. So I'm gonna start by rounding out this end of the tube. Remove a little bit more glass. So it's really important this glass rod is hot or that glass won't actually stick to it when I touch it right here. So I pull it nice and even. I'll melt it back a little bit. So this end will actually end up being the mouthpiece of the pipe. Take a second to kind of puff that glass out a little bit more evenly. And then I'll go in with the same rod I used to remove glass and do what we call a punchy, where I'm just going to basically do an attachment.
Okay.
I'm going to fuse the tip of this rod to the tip of this tube, just like that. And I'm going to take a second to make sure that attachment is nice and straight. Once that sets up, I'm going to go ahead and stretch out the mid body of that spoon. So we're going to go for a pretty classic spoon shape. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to heat a little area, and I'll condense it just like I condensed the glass to pull the points out. So I condense the glass back so you can kind of see it thickening, so that when I go to stretch it out, it had a nice thick wall thickness still, so we don't end up with a paper thin pipe, which is pretty common. So I keep a little bit of tension between the two ends so that it stays nice and straight. Because glass, as it cools down, has a tendency to try to warp to one side or the other. So
you're keeping pressure on it as it's cooling.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now, right about now, it's pretty set up. You can see I let go of one of the handles and it won't be drooping on this end.
Right.
So I'm melting the end of this, gathering it back into a little ball. That way I can blow it out again. Every time I blow into it, it just makes it a little bit more round.
Right, got it, okay.
What I'm gonna do is go ahead and preheat this graphite paddle, and I'll put a flat mouthpiece on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and flatten it. Flip it over, flatten it a little bit more. And now we have a flat profile to that mouthpiece. So I'm gonna let this cool for a second, and then blow a hole through it. Just like that. I'm gonna open that hole up a little bit. I got different tools for opening holes here. Little pair of reverse tweezers. Take a paddle, I'm gonna level that hole off just a little bit. Now we have a nice clean mouthpiece, and I'll shape this end of it into a spoon. So I'm gonna go back to my bigger flame, and I'll start gathering this glass back into a ball. So you can see that elongated, flat-sided part is starting to condense back, gather back, and thicken. And here in a second, I'll give it a puff of air, and it'll round right out. So I blow it out to the size I want it, and then I just gotta let it cool down a little bit. Then I can go to pushing a bowl into it and all that good stuff.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go ahead and pop a bowl in, or a hole into it, and then I'll sink that hole into a little bowl. So go with a nice narrow flame. Just like that. And what I'll do is take a bowl push, so I got a graphite bowl push. So what I'm gonna do is blow and push. So that's where we're at so far. Nobody likes a pipe that just rolls off their table. Yep.
Exactly.
So we're gonna heat the bottom of that. I'm gonna preheat this pad. We're gonna touch the mouthpiece down first, roll forward, flattening in the bottom of that bowl to match that mouthpiece. So everybody's different about how big they like their carbs. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat this. So once we have that hole popped, to pop another hole, we gotta block the first one. And then we're gonna take our reamer and just round that out. All right, and then we always like to put a few dots on the side once we're done. So I preheat where I want to put the dot. I preheat how much glass I want in the dot. And then I'm gonna push this rod onto the side, come in right next to it, and most plates have about 3 dots, so we'll go ahead and do 3 real quick. And now it's really important we go in and we melt all those dots in real well. Go right around the bottom edge of each one of those dots. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna start by cutting away this tube, and then I'm gonna create a hole right here at the end of my mouthpiece. So if I keep heating one spot and just picking the glass away from that one spot, it'll get really thin in that one spot. Break right through.
Yep, there you go.
And I'll level that off, smooth it in, round it out a little bit more, and then I'll put it away in the kiln. Every time I'm able to show somebody what we do and able to bring them into glass blowing, it feels really good. It's brought me a lot of joy.